Welcome to the containment unit. So I was originally going to name this video Going from Luigi to Phoebe, but I thought that might get confusing. So before I do that, let me get started at the beginning and we'll work our way to how we got here. So last year for the 4-State Comic-Con, I wanted to do something cool. Now I'm normally a Ghostbuster and I wanted to stay in that vein, but I also love the game Luigi's Haunted Mansion, so I wanted to combine the two. I mean, if you've played the game, if you've seen anything, it's basically Luigi going around sucking up ghosts. So I thought, hey, I'll make some kind of amalgam with them. It'll do something cool like that. So if you're familiar with the game, you know that Luigi carries around a couple different vacuums on his back. Now, one of them is called the Poltergust 5000, created by Dr. E. Gadd. So I went ahead and created the Vac Pack 5000, created by Dr. E. Gone. I thought that was pretty smart. I like that. Anyway, so I wore it to 4-State Comic-Con last year, and I actually got 4-State Comic-Con Cosplay Contest honorable mention. This is pretty cool. This is on my shelf. Anyway, this is obviously just a spirit pack that's kind of lightly modified. Clearly it's painted, but it hasn't really been modified that much. These are just the little guys that I 3D printed. This is just your run-of-the-mill Spengler wand. I went ahead and added this vacuum attachment. That was pretty easy to make. And then of course I have this. That's just a push button that I put in there a couple of years ago. I added this just to make it look a little better. Then this is made out of 3D filament. I took apart a flashlight and I just put the parts into this and I switch it on the back. So. Anyway, so this thing's just been hanging out on my wall for almost a year now, and I want to do something new with it. So I'm going to turn it into a Phoebe pack. So I'm going to take some of these things off. I'm going to take the cyclotron off. I'm going to modify that. I'm going to remove this, some of the stuff off the hose, and turn it into a more recognizable pack. My plan was to originally just paint it black and not go into the whole Luigi thing, but it is freezing out. It's like 14 degrees right now. There's no way I'm going outside to paint. Plus, it's not actually good for the paint to paint in weather that cold. It doesn't cure right. Anyway, just ask poor Pukey. This little guy's been sanded and ready to go for almost a month now. He's just been sitting there with that look on his face. All right, so before I head upstairs, I wanted to show you what I did on the inside. The lights are just circles that I printed in transparent filament. And if you wanted to connect your start button to your wand or some other place, it is the black and white wires that connect right here. The orange and red went to the lights on the original wand, but I'm using a Spengler wand. So, oh, and then here's where I ran the extra battery pack to do that little green light on the bumper. All right, second thing I forgot to mention, I did change out the V-hook. These are the files I got from the Q-Pack. And anytime I do add a V-hook, I add a piece of wood in the back. Just makes it so much stronger. I only used 2 of the screws to go all the way through. The V-hook that came with the spirit wand just wasn't great. So that's how I do all my V-hooks. Anyway, let's get it back upstairs. All right, so I'm up in the garage. There are a couple modifications I want to do, some of which you've definitely seen before. I want to cut out this booster tube and put something a little bit better in there. I want to cut out the HGA and kind of redo this corner. It's not super great. And then I need to replace the knob. I cut a hole in it with the knob. I need to replace this. And what we're up here to do now is the cyclotron and the end filter. I know you've seen people do this before, but I want to do it a little bit different. And I'm only going to do the cyclotron at first for 2 main reasons. Number 1, if this doesn't work, the whole pack is screwed, so there's no point doing the other things. And number 2, I want to have it ready in time for my trip to New York City this year for Ghostbuster Day 2026. I just realized while I'm up here, I want to remove the electronics first, so none of that gets in the way. I'll have to relocate the speaker, not a big deal. And then I also want to take off this Legree elbow so it doesn't get in the way when I'm cutting. I just realized I still have the mustache. Little cosplay tip for all you blonde guys, it's mascara. It's like $2 at Rite Aid, and it washes right out. Anyway, let's get into cutting. But you know what they say in the containment unit? Do try this at home. Cool. All right, so that was fun. I'm definitely not done. The first thing I'm gonna do is take a power sander and try to smooth this flat. Then I'm gonna need to remove these two. Oh, also I put in the earplugs. Remove these two, and I'm gonna just put some milliput in there, try to smooth that out like the bumper's not even on, but you'll see what I do. I was able to actually get this pretty darn smooth with the detail sander. Coming over here, I did pretty good on this side. It's not perfect, but it definitely does not look like there was a bumper on it anymore. I still have to do over here. I'm going to remove the wires. Shouldn't be a big deal, and then I'll be able to do it again. And then I'm going to start filling things in with milliput and maybe a little piece of plastic, but I got to get moving because my wife's on her way home and the garage is a bit of a mess. One last thing I forgot to add was while I was doing it, the clipper came off. The bolts fell down. But anyway, if I remember where the files are, I will put those in the description. Hey, it's Ted from the future. I was able to find everything. I'm going to do my best to put everything in its own folder, but if not, I'm just going to tell you what the clippered parts are called right now. This is going to be the clippered body right here. This is going to be the clippered underneath. Then I realized that some people are going to want to just replace their clippered and not do all of this. If you're making a GB1 or a GB2 pack, you're going to want clippered base. But if you're following along with me, you're going to want clippered Phoebe. I will get into that a little bit later. These knobs both fit right into the clippered. They just screw right in. This is the R331 and this is the R701. Just in case I forget to do this in a different video. Here is the clippered and the clippered base. This is the original one that I had on there. And then this is the clippered underneath. You're gonna have to cut off the old clippered, sand it down. This goes in through the hole that you just made, and then this comes from behind on the pack. It kind of fits like that, and then obviously you just screw it on. So, all right, cool. Back to the video already in progress. All right, it's been a little while. I haven't gotten much done. I was able to get everything off of the pack, so that'll make painting easier once I can finally do it. It is warm enough to hold the garage door open, but still definitely not warm enough to paint. So I'm going to keep sanding. I'm getting a lot closer than I thought I would be by now, which is awesome. So I'm going to get back into it, and then I'll report back once I'm done. We'll get started on the milliput. I'm no expert or anything like that. I'm never going to say you can't try this. If you want to try it, go for it. But I will say for sure, if you're going to do this, please get a power sander. Oh my goodness, I'd be here for weeks doing this by hand. When I was taking this apart, I took off the injector tubes, and that made it a lot easier to get down to the bumper. You saw I used the power sander, the rotary sander, and really did my best to keep in line with the contours of the shell. Just something I really want to do, a little bit of a perfectionist there. And now I'm going to go inside and use some milliput and try to fill these parts in. I lied. I went inside with my milliput and I got ready to put it in there, and it just didn't feel right. I don't know. Anyway, so I started thinking, like, I've seen videos where people do this before, and I remember seeing one where a guy kind of cut into this. So I found the video. It was a guy called JRMorgen Productions. He has a great line of videos where he modifies his spirit pack as well. Little different than this. Go watch those videos. I'll leave a link in the basement. And he uses Bondo. And I've never used Bondo, so I thought, well, I might as well learn how to do it. So I found a video on how to use Bondo. Not that hard. I'll show you the video I watched. Very simple to use. To get it set up, I went and I put some little plastic pieces inside of here. I didn't film it because I did it at the kitchen table in my pajamas while my daughter was watching Bluey at an unreasonable level.
Isn't anyone going to mention the salads?
I used E6000 and some little clamps. Very easy to do. If you've gotten this far, it won't be a problem. I am going to use a little bit of milliput on the end filter because I accidentally cut down a little too low, and I'm going to use that to build it back up. I don't know if Bondo will work for that, but I know milliput definitely will. So let's get into the Bondo. All right, if I sound muffled, I'm wearing a respirator. Also, have you ever used Bondo before? Is it supposed to come half empty? Anyway. Doing my best here. I'm not afraid of using too much because obviously I can sand it back off. And if I use too little, I can always add more, so. Not great at this, that's for sure, but I'm doing my best. All right, so here it is. I finished. I added the milliput on the end filter. If you want to know more about milliput, check out my video. I printed a Q-Pack Part 2, weld bead lines. I love milliput. I explained how to use it. I'm just gonna let it harden for a few hours. And I know I've never used Bondo before, but I can confidently say I probably used way too much. It's been a couple days. The Bondo is completely cured. So I'm just gonna take the power sander and go at it, try to level it down. And let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is why I really recommend a power sander if you're gonna do this project. All right, cool. That wasn't bad. It only took me about half an hour. Well, I will be honest with you. I didn't do a perfect job. I only went to about 150 grit. Of course, I could keep going. I could go all the way to 2000 wet sand. I can even go past that, but there's no reason to. This ring right here is going to be covered up with a 3D print that I'm putting on, and then the sides are going to be textured. So I'm not going to go crazy with it if I'm going to spray truck bed liner on it. So let me show you guys what I've been working on inside. So this is what I've been working on. I took some measurements and I made this in Tinkercad. This is, I've heard it called the cooler. I don't know, I've never called it that, but that's what I've seen when I was looking up reference photos. Anyway, so it goes inside. It's a prototype. It would be a waste of filament to print the bottom. It's only like 2 walls, 5% infill, and it doesn't fit. All right, readjusted. This just came off the printer bed. Still got the raft on it. Anyway, made it a little bit smaller and be right back. The last time I left you, I had just used this, which did not fit. And then I tried this, which did not fit. Since then, I have tried this, but then I ran out of yellow. So I tried this, and this. Then I think I finally got the end filter. So I just made this. It fit, so I had to go make this, which proved that the ring was right. And once that was finished, I was able to make this. Cool. Only 7 prototypes and I was able to get the cooler. No worries, my record is actually 17. I made a cheese slice for the Spengler wand, which was actually featured on Ghostbusters News. Now I know what you're thinking. Hasn't someone already made these files? Maybe, but they're not mine, so that means I can't give them out for free. While I was on Tinkercad, I went and made the cake that goes inside. Took a while to make, but it was totally worth it. So far, these are all things you've seen before, but I want to spice mine up just a little bit. So I went and bought a DC motor. It was actually spinning counterclockwise, but I was reading on the Amazon review that if you switch the leads, you can get it to go the other way. So if you don't know anything about batteries like I didn't, this thing is rated for between 60 and 120 volts. Each AA battery is 15 volts, so 4 of them in a sequence get you to 60. So this was super easy to find on Amazon. I think it was like $2. I built the cake in 2 separate pieces. I'm going to take the DC motor, I'm going to put the bottom piece on, then I'm going to put a set screw on top of that. That way I can screw the top piece into the bottom piece, and you won't be able to see how it attaches. All right, 2 M3 screws. There's going to be 4, but Not yet. So, let's see what we got. All right, now we're cooking with dynamite. A couple days later, and I made some advancements. Anyway, so in my last video, did I say that batteries were 15 volts and that this DC motor was 60 to 120? I was wrong. Batteries are AA batteries are 1.5 volts, and this is 6 to 12 volts. So I had the right conversion to battery size, but I was off by a couple of gigawatts. Anyway, so I noticed that it was spinning really fast, obviously, and it was starting to wobble. So I was like, hey, I gotta work on that. And I started thinking, it's a variable speed motor, so what if I varied it down? So I cut it down to just 2. So now it's 3 volts. And it's actually spinning, it's only spinning half the speed, but it's a lot more stable. So that's pretty much what I was going for. I added a set screw inside to hold it on there safe, and I think this is turning out really well. If you are following along with my files, first off, you're awesome. Second off, send pics. Third off, I'm using M3 screws. The holes that are in the print are not the right size. You have to drill those out with 7/64ths. I left those small in case someone wants to use some other screw or attach it some other way. That's totally up to them. Also, if you are going to be using these set screws and this particular DC motor, you are going to have to drill out the set screw just a little bit, but it's going to give you a nice tight hole. You'll need to drill that out with a 3/32 bit. Here's more proof of concept. So this is actually a piece of a toilet. I used it when I made the ion arm on that kids pack. I got the idea from people using the 80% spirit pack. Here's what I used. Anyway, I had it left over, so I decided to use it for this. So I took a 3/32 and I drilled a hole in the center of it. Then it just sits right on top of the DC motor pin and fits all together like that. So now that I know the DC motor and the cake work well together, I printed up the cooler. Just another quick prototype because I wanted to make sure that this would hold in. I printed these little tabs that screw into the DC motor. The one I bought came with screws. So let me assemble it and see how it works. Feels like it works to me. So I think now that I know that I have the right cooler and end filter size, I know that the cake works and the DC motor works, I think it's time to start printing everything up for real. So everything I've made so far, I've actually made on Tinkercad. Now they say you can't make all this stuff on Tinkercad, but hey, they also told me I couldn't make cartoons on MS Paint. So whatever. Anyway, I think I've evolved beyond Tinkercad simply because I may have broken the program. It won't export, it has too many triangles or something, not 100% sure. So I had to break it down. My original plan was for this to just drop in and then kind of like be good to go, but that's not gonna work. So I had to come up with another idea. So my new idea was to remove these two, hold on, let me make sure I get this right, cooler blocks, field windings, heat sink of sorts, half coils, cooling towers, or as the 3D community calls them, internals or components. These guys. So I took those out and put holes in the bottom of them. And then I put holes in the bottom of the cooler so you know exactly where to drill them. Now, or screw them, I guess. Now, they're only 2mm. They're meant to be guide holes for you to use whatever screws you want. That's also how I did the switches and lights in the side of the cooler, which we're going to get into later. So let me take these and print these out like this and make sure that everything lines up.